Hey guys, this is Jon
and Austin,
and this is another episode of the Meatgistics podcast. So we've got a couple of things going on, but before we get to any of that, I've got some dry cured sausage here. I've been eating it pretty much nonstop. Those were significantly larger before I started eating them.
Are these two different ones?
They are two different ones. One is Italian wine salami, and the other one is habanero barbecue. These are the dry cured sausage that we made many moons ago. I have no idea how long. I'm guessing 3 years, but that could
it's been a while.
Yeah, could be wrong. They have been vac packed and frozen in our walk-in freezer. Taste is just phenomenal. Now, when we were doing these, for some reason they were growing. We didn't spray them with whatever Bactofirm is the positive mold. Second time we did that, but first time we didn't do it. So I had to take every one of them out, dump them in vinegar and clean them. And you can still smell that vinegar on the casing a little bit. Like when you open that bag, I was like, these have gone bad. And then I remembered that we did that. No, they are absolutely delicious.
They have not lost any bit of deliciousness being in the freezer for 3 years.
Right. Like full pop, full flavor all around the tongue. Absolutely phenomenal.
Maybe they're softer than they should be.
Oh, well. No, that's actually possible. As soon as we get a dry curing cabinet that we can rely on and use all the time, expect me to be basically MIA for 6 months while I do nothing but work on that, especially prosciutto. I am going to eventually do prosciutto.
You're going to have to do other stuff. You're going to set it in there and you're going to wait for months.
Yeah, but
or are you just going to set up shop with a laptop right there and watch it every day?
I will open it and put other things in, take other things out. So
you're not going to make like the full cabinet of like just one thing?
No, we're making a prosciutto.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have the patience to wait for one thing.
We just need multiple dry curing cabinets then.
I mean, I cleared a spot for it. The day you said...
Is there a spot left there anymore?
Yeah, that's just the giveaway stuff from...
Well, yeah, but there's stuff there now.
Yeah, that'll be gone in a second. The day you mentioned that the dry curing cabinet, when we get it, may be coming in here, I cleared that spot. And that was like 6 months ago. And then I found out through the grapevine that you were worried that I was going to annoy people and talk about it all the time. So I only brought it up once. This is the second time. I want credit for that.
I don't even remember where the one we were looking at is from.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been involved in that at all.
It had to have been something Brett and Dylan found at IFA last year.
Okay. The timing would be about right.
Yeah.
So longer than 6 months. I have no idea how long things are anymore. Like, is it 3 months? Has it been 9 months? I don't know.
Timing's difficult.
I wonder if having a kid improves your ability to understand time, because you're like, oh, the child was 1 when this happened. So that was clearly 4 years ago.
No.
Once something's 2 years ago or older, it could be 3 to 8. Same to me.
I don't think it helps. Like my son's 4 years old and he shouldn't be 4 years old. He has not been here for 4 years. It doesn't I can't relate time based off of that. But, you like ask my wife something and she'll be like, oh, she's good with time, things like that. It'll be like, I don't know, there's a toy, he's playing with it, and I'll be like, where do we get that from? She's like, 2.5 years ago for Valentine's Day, that was from grandma on your side or grandma on my side, whatever. And it's like, I'm like, what? I don't remember what we got him for his birthday 2 months ago, let alone somebody else for some obscure holiday.
You almost certainly weren't involved in picking out that present, right?
Sometimes I am.
Oh, okay. My dad never did anything for our birthdays. My mom would do that. But like Christmas was his thing to an obscene degree. Like, and he knew it. My mom would talk about it, be like, hey, there are a stupid number of toys and stuff. There was one year he had to pass me through a window so that I could go around and move things and open the door, because he, the night before, stayed up drinking, obviously, but like arranged everything exactly how he wanted it, and it blocked the door into the room. It was like a double door into our addition. But
wow.
Yeah, I don't know why I brought that up.
That's crazy.
Anyways, all right. So we have settled on the next level of Meatgistics rewards. It will be at, I think we said it's at the 3,000 post.
No.
5,000? 4,000.
4,000.
4,000. Yep. That's what we came up with.
Four,
and the next one is 8. We'll write this down somewhere.
Yeah.
We will write this down somewhere.
4 and 8 sounds
4 and 8. So this one's at 4,000. This is a pocket knife. It is a buck knife made in the USA. And we are going to send it to our retailer, or that's the wrong word.
What do you want?
There's a promotional items person, engraver.
Yeah, if it's customizing something, he does it. Everything from shirts, hats, laser engraving, wood burning,
Promotional items.
I don't.
There's definitely a word for this that we can't come up with at the moment. All right, but that's fine. But on one side of it will be your Meatgistics username. And on the other side, our square Meatgistics logo. Very nice knife. Has a good flip to it. Nice thin handle. And we figured the buck, because we were also looking at a knife called a Civivi. But we figured the buck, it being American made, be a little bit more attractive to our audience. Got a nice slim blade, super sharp. We spent a couple of weeks carrying this and the other one around, see which one we preferred. And we also took some opinions from other people, and this was the winner. So I will start contacting people who are at 4,000 posts or more, and we'll get working on that. Now, the next one is way further away. We made it 8,000, so we don't know what that's going to be yet. And B, there is a chance, although we haven't really talked about this in any detail, that we might change a little bit what we're calling, like what those levels actually are. We're looking at ways of possibly including reputation in it. So reputation is your posts plus your likes. So we may be doing something with that as well. Just FYI. All right. Funny story walking my dogs today. Come over a rise on our way back, and I'm ahead of the dogs, and I see this guy who I think is homeless. We see him back there every once in a while, not very often. But the rehab center's back there too, so it could be just some guy taking a walk. If so, he's been in rehab a long time. See him, I immediately turn around, look at Brutus, and reach in my pocket for the buzzer thing. All he saw was me reach in my pocket, and immediately his head went up, chest came up, and he does this weird, like, trot is the wrong word, but it's like a power walk, like right at me, and I can tell he's trying to go right by me. So I just reach and I grab, and the only thing I could get on him was his ear. So I'm holding his ear as hard as I can while I'm trying to grab his other one, because he does not like seeing random people on our walks. Anyways, grab it. Probably could have done the same thing with the buzzer, but he let out the most pitiful squeal when I grabbed his ear. Whee! I was like, oh, I'm sorry, buddy. It felt terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Okay. Patrick's not in here, so he won't get the benefit of this part. For weightlifting, and because I want to, I've been getting, or I got
that away from me.
Ammonia inhalant. This is Ward smelling salts. This morning,
it can't be good for you.
With this and this workout thing, usually I can bench 225 like 3, maybe 4 times if I'm really pushing it. I did, I think 7 or 9, one of the two, with literally no problem. Just take a general whiff of it.
No.
Just a general whiff. You don't have to stick your nose.
Goodness. That's not good for you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let's go.
John's going to be jacked for this whole podcast now. You're turning like massively red.
Oh, yeah. That opens up the lungs.
Yeah, let's not. I'm getting stimulants out of my life right now. I don't need more.
Yeah, I was just telling you how good you look with no. Well, I mean, caffeine obviously is not.
Oh, that's small amounts.
I cut caffeine and it didn't do anything. I don't think it does.
It does, but it's just much less of a stimulant than other things. You don't have to be now. I mean, stupid my opinion, nicotine. They changed from having to be 18 to 21. I think that's all.
When did they do that?
Year ago.
Are you serious?
2 years ago. Year ago. 2 years ago. Yeah.
So an 18-year-old kid can't go buy a pack of cigarettes?
Yeah, can't. You have to be 21.
Huh.
So, but I mean, you got like that. That's a stronger stimulant, nicotine, but caffeine's lower. It's just there's different levels of stimulants.
Yeah.
But caffeine's a little more harmless. It's still a stimulant, but
yeah, caffeine's it's not only a stimulant, it's technically psychoactive something. Actually, so is nicotine. Nicotine is actually good for protection of the brain. Come back to nicotine, Austin. Yeah. Yes, it is. Smoking is bad for you. Dipping is bad for you, but nicotine is actually good for you. Right?
that just seems weird.
But it's true.
Yeah. Heroin, cocaine, LSD, also psychoactive drugs. I don't think psychoactive drugs are probably good for you. Although I'm going to, random LSD story.
As we do here on the Meatgistics podcast.
My sister's in town. So I was at my parents last night. She's staying with them. And somehow we got talking about LSD. I don't know.
Okay.
And I was like, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. My mom, my sister, and my wife had no idea what that was.
Wait, they had no idea what the song was? Or they had no idea what LSD is?
That LSD is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Okay.
Like, I think it was my mom or my sister was like, did the Beatles write a lot of drug songs? Like, yes. Yes, they did.
How about the last 3/4 of their career? It was basically only about that.
Yeah. But
that is awesome.
They're also not Beatles fans.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
But
this is also not meat related, but Patrick and I were talking earlier. What band do you think from like that era has the most effect on music from that era forward?
What this is going to show I don't know enough about Beatles either. What era are they
like
from?
60s, 70s.
60s, 70s.
I think they were technically before, like 60s? I think they started in the 50s maybe, but whatever.
Hank Williams.
Oh, that's actually not a terrible one.
I don't know.
I mean, that affected all of country music. I said Queen.
Was Queen that early? I thought Queen was
70s.
later. I thought Queen was like 70s, 80s.
The 70s.
Okay.
But Queen was around during disco because Freddie Mercury wanted them to do more. Whatever, doesn't matter.
I don't know enough about other genres of music on like an older time scale there, except for country.
Right.
Like my expertise doesn't go past country there.
I am getting more into. It's weird. I'm getting more into country, and more into like whatever you want to call hard rock, heavy metal. It's weird. Like, you know how your taste buds occasionally change? Mm-hmm. I think my music taste is starting to like go through one of those.
A renaissance.
Sure, a renaissance.
Nicotine also changes your taste buds. You should probably cut down on nicotine. You'd taste more.
I did listen to Bocephus. I didn't like that song. Doesn't do anything for me. Now let's do a live version of it.
You have to respect it.
I listened to a live version of it. I don't know if that makes a difference, but
yeah.
Patrick, I did this while you were out of the room. I don't know when you were coming back.
How often can you do it?
Nonstop, I think. What do you mean? Like, how often is it?
You might need to show Patrick.
Oh, how often is it effective for? You only have so many times you can open it and get like a pop off of it. So I don't want to just like be using it left and right. All right.
Do a couple desk pops. What are you talking
Patrick had a really good idea. He wants to set up a draft between you and me, and we'll do it. We'll have to agree upon a budget, and then you and I build a sausage making kitchen out of it. It'll be just like the NFL draft, where once I've chosen something, like if I choose the 22 grinder, you can't choose the 22 grinder, and it'll go snake. So one person will pick, next person will have 2 picks, next person will have 2 picks.
Is that? Oh, okay.
Right, because otherwise there's no fair way to do it, because the first person is going to choose the. I don't want to say what I choose.
Well, there you go.
I clearly have a opinion
building,
on what the most
building
important.
the best butcher's dream kitchen, essentially.
Home processors, I'd call it. Instead of
butchers. Does it necessarily have to be Walton's equipment?
Yes.
Okay.
We'd have to go into it with a mindset of what size of batch are we making.
Home processing is 25 pounds.
Oh, 25 pounds. Well, yeah. Well, some people would. Yeah.
5 pounds of home.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just we base everything around.
We're processing a deer. Like, we're not just like going to the store and buying a pork butt and making sausage. Okay.
Right. Or, I mean, for that too, either one.
Well, it would change what I do, though.
Well, what do you mean?
What's the budget?
Drastically.
Well, this is all good content. We'll keep it for that time. So that this was just about talking.
We got to explain the rules, though, don't we?
Do we really want to come up with those rules live?
No, this could be like a 2-hour discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah,
So
Put a pin in.
we'll come up with the rules and then we'll do it either next podcast or the one after that.
this will be good though.
Also, if you're listening to this, we have a podcast today or a live stream today at 3 p.m. at waltons.com/live, as long as you're listening to this on the day it comes out. If you did not listen to it, go back and listen to our last podcast because it might be my favorite one we've done, in all honesty. Kurt Gormley, who's a employee here, had this amazing medical journey, and he was so good. One of the things he didn't do at all is what I just did and say, he just speaks clearly and continually and lucidly. He doesn't get lost too often like we tend to do. It's like, what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. So it was very, very good. Interesting story. Really great guy.
He probably doesn't use stimulants like the two of us.
And he's got a book called Alligator Wrestling in the Cancer Ward. I highly recommend you check it out. Also, just support him. He is an absolutely phenomenal person. All right. So we've got all the things that I planned on talking about before Meat Matters. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Nope.
Cool.
We should probably get into something that's actually meat related.
We have not.
Yeah.
Not to this point. Okay. First two articles were sent to me by your dad. This one is Beef Production Decreasing Prices Higher. It's from Beef Magazine. As has been anticipated for several months, beef production is decreasing in 2023. In the last 4 weeks, beef production has averaged 6.4% lower compared to the same period last year. Lower beef production is the result of decreases in both cattle slaughter and carcass weights. Steer slaughter is down 5.3% year over year in the last month, and steer carcass weights have averaged 903 pounds, down 16 pounds from 1 year ago. Heifer slaughter has finally begun to decrease and is down 1.6% in the last month, with heifer carcass weight at 830 pounds, down 20 pounds from a year ago. Cow slaughter is down 6.8% year over year in the last 4 weeks, including 0.9% increase in dairy cow slaughter and 13.6% year over year decrease in beef cow slaughter. Cow carcass weights have averaged 646 pounds the last month, 11 pounds lower than the same period last year. Bull slaughter is down 14.6% from 1 year ago, and the bull carcasses are down or have averaged 854 pounds in the last 4 weeks, down 26 pounds. So not only are we slaughtering less, but what we are slaughtering is lower weight. Mm-hmm. So that is not a good sign. I talked to Zach from Crable's Monday. I was like, hey, get me, or actually I just contacted him. I'm like, hey, what would it, how long is it going to be? And he was telling me there's some in June and then some in October or something. And I was like, okay, good. I'm not quite there where I need to get on a list or anything. He's like, well, I'll just call you when, we're getting that. I was like, perfect. Thank you. So if you eat a lot of beef, you may need to do that. That may be how you have to go about getting enough beef to continue your addiction.
It'll be there. It's just going to be more expensive.
Right. Yeah, it might be to the point that I'm not even willing to pay for it.
You got real touchy about steak prices over the last couple of years as prices have been kind of volatile.
Yes.
Yeah, you get a little cranky about it. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Why wouldn't I be?
I'm not saying you're wrong. I find it entertaining.
No, because I honestly feel this way, that there is a push by whatever you want to call the government to get us to eat less beef. I am coming to a realization and an acceptance of the fact that I am cranky and don't want to do what I'm told. Like, obviously a different boss-employee relationship, but just like in general, if someone tells me to do something, my initial response is, I'm not going to do that. So partly of that, partly also, I just love eating beef. I like the way it tastes. I like the health benefits for my body. So this push to get us to all eat insects or fake meat or whatever, I'm just not going to get behind that ever, no matter what. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one is livestock group backs bill to expand meatpacking capacity. Your dad's email just said, how big is small? So the portion of it I want to read talks about a group of people who sent this letter trying to basically get the government to overturn an outdated law that prevents anyone in the livestock business from owning or investing in any processing business, which sounds super weird. And I did not know that was a law.
That's actually a law?
So it says the American Farm Bureau Federation, American Sheep, and they list a bunch of other organizations, and the United Cattlemen's Association sent a letter to chair people and ranking members of the Senate and House Agriculture Committees expressing the group's support of legislation to allow livestock market owners and operators to own or invest in small or regional livestock packing facilities. So your dad has a good question there. How big is small? Are we talking about, are you considering someone like Crable's small? Because I wouldn't consider them small, but
they're small.
They're probably small, considered small.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of like USDA meat plants and what size they are, they would probably be classified as very small, which is crazy because they're not very small.
They're not.
There are people that are very small out there, but Crable's is still tiny in comparison to Tyson.
Okay, so but then we have
one Tyson plant.
We have a problem of scale then, because Crable's, you almost have to take out all the big ones and just not consider them at all so that we can then accurately size the rest of the industry. Because I've seen the inside of plants that are a third the size of Crable's, but when you compare either one to a Tyson, a JBS, there's no difference between those two because they're so much smaller. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like you have to just come up with an entire new term for the non-JBS, the non-Big Four.
Yeah.
But even then you've got
independent processors. I mean, that's what I would call them. That's what we typically do, is like, because we cater to the independent processor out there. We don't cater to the Big Four. We sell
very little bit
oddball stuff to them here and there, but we cater to the independent. The independent can be very small, medium. Nobody that's really large. When you say that that's only 15% of the market total, nobody can actually be that big. But
yeah, but they could be big compared to all the other people in their category. Like
just not in comparison to the market as a whole.
Right.
But to each other, they could still be ones that are a lot bigger than the others.
Okay. So then,
I mean, even like just in general industry across the country, they call a small business anybody that has 500 employees or less.
That's
500 is, in my opinion, is no longer a small business.
No.
But you can have 500 employees and still be a quote unquote small business.
Which is crazy. Mm-hmm. So that, you always hear these terms. It's like, well, small business is actually employs, X way bigger percentage of people than you think. Well, that's because, a lot of these companies have 400 people, and I don't consider them a small business, but they are technically a small business. So anyways, interesting question. We'll follow that. We'll see what comes of it.
So this, where'd it go? I lost it. I'm not sure if you read this part or not, but it says it bars livestock auction owners from owning or investing in packers. We've talked about that. Well, not that in particular in the past, but auction houses and in the past some price fixing issues. So does that open up the possibility for more of that?
That's a very good point. What Austin's referring to is there was a bunch of stuff coming out middle of last year where people were bringing their livestock to auction and saying, hey, you've already agreed on all this. This is nonsense. You met up with these people outside and set the prices. So what he's pointing out is if somebody was able to own both the processing plant and the auction house or whatever you want to call it, does that open up a more possibility for price fixing? And you're probably yes.
Or does it go less?
Probably not.
I don't know.
Why would it go less?
Just theorizing that the more you open things up and let the market run, that in theory it should work itself out. But then you run into the market's already so full of
regulation. We're so far from a free market. Yeah. Yep. We're so far from a free market that trying to institute a free market is going to put that at a disadvantage. So, all right. New markets for state-inspected meat and poultry act reintroduced. We talked about this in Washington State a few months ago. You wondered how quickly it would spread, and it would seem like it spread fairly quickly. South Dakota producers. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I was right. South Dakota producers raise some of the highest quality meat and poultry in the world, said Senator Mike Round. However, meat and poultry producers are limited to markets within the state, even though they were required to go through inspection at a state facility that meets or exceeds federal inspection standards. This is a disadvantage to producers and consumers alike. Our bipartisan bill would allow these high-quality producers to pass federally equivalent state inspection standards to be sold across state lines, which would open up new markets for our producers and give consumers more choice at the grocery store. 100% agree. Absolutely agree.
We need to get somebody on that understands it a little bit more, because I don't understand it. I don't get it. I know Kansas has their own inspection program. I've been at least fairly familiar with it for a number of years. And it's similar to like the federal one, but like when people start up a plant, they always have like the big question: are you gonna be state or are you gonna be federal? Well, the big thing I've always known is if you want to be federal, you be federal if you want to sell across state lines. Right. Otherwise, if you don't care, just you can be state. But if it meets or exceeds the federal, why is there the two anyways? And why is there a limit on it?
I would highly.
And then why would everyone not just be federal anyways?
So I would highly doubt that that's actually true, that it meets or exceeds in all circumstances. There are definitely going to be some states that have more lax laws. Plus, I mean, that's a politician. They lie, right? So they just say things they know are not true. So, yeah, I don't know. Politicians are bad, okay?
Yeah. I thought I saw something in here.
Although like not this one. Yeah, I like him.
Co-sponsors of the bill, you had Republicans and Democrats both. Uh-huh. So it looks like both sides are trying to work together to actually implement it, which it makes sense. But
also makes me nervous. Anytime I see bipartisan. Oh, that's what we should talk about, because it's totally, absolutely meat related. The Restrict Act, the Ban TikTok Act. We need to push back on that. That is Patriot Act 2.0 for the internet. That is not a good thing.
Yeah, I haven't looked a whole lot into it.
It is bad. I've read it.
But it doesn't sound good.
No. They try to hide it behind all these definitions. They're like, oh, now it is for things over 1 million people. So it's not like Meatgistics would be affected or anything. But basically said they can shut you down for anything that they want, more or less. They can take all your personal information without notifying you or like the company. So
yeah,
bad.
I don't like that. I mean, it's ultimately it could affect us, because I was just talking with my sister last night since she was in town about us getting delisted from Google. We also, and I don't think I shared it before, I don't know if I told you, I took the Facebook login off of Meatgistics as well, because Facebook got a little pissy with us about our terms and conditions and privacy policy. And,
what?
And I got done fighting it. Yeah. So
when did that happen?
I don't know, 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Less than a year, but maybe more than 6 months, less than a year. But it's just one of those things, like whether, to me, it doesn't matter if it's a tech company like that, if it's the government, it's a larger entity of sorts that they're like, you need to do this. It's kind of what you were saying earlier of you not liking being told like what to do. They come back and tell me like, you have to do this. And I'm just like, no,
thank you.
I'm not going to do it. I refuse.
We have internal developers now. Like we have people who write code specifically. And long-term, one of the goals was to get a Meatgistics app made. And that's probably never going to happen now, because they want a ridiculous amount of say. They want to control
our moderation and what we censor and what we don't.
And we won't be doing that.
And I don't want to do that.
Now, what we could do is actually put it on the website and you would download it, but that's a little bit more advanced. Like it's not as simple as go click download.
No, I don't know how it works on iPhone. I have no idea. On Android, it's pretty simple. We can make it even like pop up and say, "Hey, install the app."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Android's a little more flexible. iPhone, I don't know. I'd have to play with it. I haven't used an iPhone device in several years. Yeah. So I don't know.
Okay. This I just found interesting. Judging meat provides students with new skill. This is from Washington State University. Students are traveling more than 1,000 miles this week to spend several hours in a 34-degree cooler and outside in stockyards examining livestock for their carcass merit. My life is consumed by this, and I love it, said Grace Llewellyn. I think that's how you say that name. A senior majoring in animal science. I never expected to be living and breathing meat animal evaluation, but I've met so many interesting and awesome people. It's just great. Llewellyn is a member of Washington State University's newly relaunched meat judging team, which is currently in Canyon, Texas for the National Meat Animal Evaluation Contest from the 26th to the 28th. So they just finished. But more and more, I didn't tell you. Do you remember meeting, I can't remember his name, Hunters of Color, that program? I talked to him. They are doing awesome.
Really?
So they're continuing that program, and it's basically full up in their school. Like they have no room to bring in more people, so they're going to change it.
They're the ones we like donate a bunch of equipment and stuff to.
Yep. Okay. So they're still using that, but they're going to change it and make it like actually part of the school. Like kids can sign up to take that class during school hours.
That's awesome.
So that's awesome. I told them if they need anything, just reach out.
I feel like I missed out on things when I was in school.
Right?
Like
there was nothing cool like that. Well, yeah. Trap shoot. Like if there was a shooting program in my high school, I probably would have, everything other than football, I would have been like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
How much fun would that have been?
On one hand, it's like, I'd like to go back and do it again. Then I'm like, no, rather not. Just stay where I'm at.
Definitely
but it just, it's one of those things like that. It could have made like just a totally different experience growing up. If it could have, to be honest, I didn't even have like wood shop class. Like,
you didn't have any shop? Really?
Yeah.
At all?
Nothing.
Interesting. Did you have home ec?
No.
What did you have? Just like math and sciences? You didn't have anywhere. Did you have a social studies?
What is social studies? Like history class?
No. They used to call it something else. They used to call it, what is the word? It's about like the government and how everything's supposed to run. Civics.
Oh, we had a government class. But it was one semester. That was it.
Man, the older I get, the more I realize how, and my best friend and I have talked about this many times, like how lucky we were to go to the school we went to.
My school was good.
It doesn't sound like it was.
It was all like, it was all basically math and science class. I took a lot of science classes. I don't know. A lot of college classes. I mean,
using those science classes?
I don't know.
Not really.
I don't know. But I graduated high school with like 30 hours of college credit already.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like I took like more like classes that were like practical than like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say it that way. Than home ec.
Sure.
That's still practical, but
I would say it's more practical.
The most like unpractical one was like there was weights class, but I didn't do weights class. That's just a gym class. Yeah, it was just gym. But
yours is the school that didn't have to take gym. Just gym every semester, right?
Nope.
Dude,
that's ridiculous.
I never took it in
my
high school.
favorite thing of all time, freshman year, everyone has to take gym. And you got the people that, A, they're not bringing a change of clothes, and B, like their goth makeup is kind of smeared. It's the best. You see someone, you take them out of their norm, they're 8. First of all, goth is like a gang. There's never just one of them. There's a dozen of them at least at all times. And then get them in a gym class running in their Frankenstein boots. It's the funniest. Like, you can't wait to be a 10th grader, huh, buddy? Well, you're mine now.
You're in my world. All right. UTIs, bladder infections, may be linked to E. coli in meat, a study finds. Now, I read through this entire article looking for some evidence that it was specifically from meat. Did not find it. So, from, what is this? The CDC, 46 of all foodborne illness is from veggies. 22 is from meat and poultry, 20 is from dairy and eggs, and only 6 is from fish.
Oh, those percentages?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So what that should have said is UTIs, bladder infections, mostly caused by eating veggies.
Very, very big misconception out there is that you are more likely to get sick by eating fresh vegetables than you are meat.
Yep. Absolutely. And then the hierarchy of food commodities. So I think they're saying that E. coli, if you click on that link, this won't translate well. We'll just move on. But it shows basically what we just talked about. Don't know why I included that. Scientists uncover a high amount of pure DDT off of the LA coast. So we still see original DDT on the seafloor from 50, 60, or even 70 years ago, which tells us that it's not breaking down the way that we once thought it should. They were dumping DDT straight off the sides of boats and just hoping it would degrade in the ocean. Instead, it sank to the... Do you know what DDT is?
My first thought was like insect spray, but that's DEET. Right.
It's DDT.
That is DDT?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And it just doesn't break down. So it's down there. I am assuming killing off anything that comes into contact with it.
Well, it's good. We're keeping insects off of the ocean floor, right?
I mean, technically, a lobster is an insect.
How many legs does it have? Is that 6?
8.
Not an insect. It's a spider.
A crab, I think, is an arachnid. A lobster is not an arachnid. So maybe it does just have 6. No, are we counting feelers or claws? Because it's got the little feelers under the body and then the 2 big claws.
I don't know.
It's
a crustacean.
Okay. All right. We'll go on that. But, just more evidence that everything we think we know, we don't know anything. Meat Freaks Jerky Club donates half of its profits from Youper Box to Courage Inc. Now, I don't really care. A great story, but because of Youper Dog, I saw Youper. I'm like, wait, is that an actual thing? A Youper is apparently somebody who's from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I'd never heard that, but now
Weird. Oh,
Youper dogs make sense. So there you go. Over 3,000 pounds of meat recalled over possible E. coli contamination, which is hilarious because we were just talking about how it's more often veggies, and here's a story about meat. But boneless beef chuck is being recalled for E. coli toxins. Elkhorn Valley is the company. The affected states include Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, according to the FSIS. The agency discovered the issue during routine testing. There haven't been any confirmed reports of adverse reactions related to the consumption of the recalled products, according to the FSIS. Now, Decatur Meats recalls some ground beef for possible E. coli contamination. It's from the same company. So can you talk a little bit about how intertwined all this industry is? Like, we have 2 small processors here. One of them is obviously getting product from the other one. You want to explain like box beef and how that all works? Slaughter processors and non-slaughter processors?
Sure. So
obviously I did not give him any warning that I was asking this.
One, do you know where Elkhorn Valley Pride is?
North Dakota, maybe?
Okay, because I'm thinking they're in Kansas.
I'm almost positive they're not.
Okay. Good to know then. Because I was just looking at our system too, there's multiple Elkhorns. Okay. But when you have like small processors out there, to be honest, even big processors don't do everything from A to Z. There's so much that happens. We were talking about Krables earlier. Krables is probably a very good example of somebody who probably does 95% of everything A to Z. And yeah, they're the closest. I've never heard of them turning anyone down.
They'll kill anything is the joke.
They do a lot.
Right.
But even them, I'd wager money that they bring in boxed beef of some sorts, because even if you are trying to do all of your own, if you bring in beef and you're processing it, you're going to have customers that are like, saying, I want strips, I want ribeyes, I want ground beef, I want roast, and it's not going to fit the right ratio for what meat you're slaughtering and processing. So it could be coming from a larger processor from one of the big four. It could be coming from another very small to medium-sized processor. They basically...
Who doesn't have a retail store and wants to send their cuts off.
So I'm going to say something that maybe we'll have to go back and see if it's okay if we say this, maybe. I don't know. But Walnut Valley is from El Dorado. They're a good example of somebody who has done a little bit of both and changed directions. They used to do a lot of boxed beef. They would just process like a lot of pork mainly, and they would sell it to other processors as boxed beef. And now they're doing a lot of retail. They kind of switched gears. They now have stores in El Dorado, Augusta, Winfield, Andover. They're going kind of a different route with it now. I don't know if they still do a lot of the wholesale.
Well, we've brought them up specifically as someone who did boxed beef in the past. So,
okay. But it's something where everybody doesn't do like everything then. So they've maybe switched gears, but a lot of times a processor will focus mainly on boxed beef or mainly on just jerky or just snack sticks or just custom processing. You don't find a lot of people that do it all. So you'll find a small to mid-sized guy like a Walnut Valley who just brings in stuff, kills, slaughters, packs it into boxes, and then ships it off to other processors to use, so that everybody, when they're trying to fill the quota of different things that they want that their customers are asking for, they don't have to try to somehow magically make that fit all into the amount of beef they're producing. They can just order prime rib rolls and either turn it into prime rib or ribeyes.
And do they generally do you think, like, just to use two, for example, because we've talked about them, do you think Crable's would order specifically from another processor, or would they do it? Okay.
Yeah. So
it's like Zach's calling up Mike and saying, hey, send me. Okay.
Yeah. The meat industry it's not a big industry. Almost everybody knows each other, at least in the very small to medium sized world. You probably don't have all the small guys calling up people at Tyson going, hey, can you send it in and stuff? It's a little different there, but in our world of the independent processors out there, most of them know each other. They call up and it's like, hey, I need this. Hey, I need this.
I'm almost always impressed by how helpful they seem to be to each other. Like, there's two mindsets on that. Obviously there's like feast or famine, and in a lot of industries it's a famine mindset. It's like, hey, anything I help you without or help out you with is going to hurt me. But in this industry it seems to be more like, if you're doing well, there's a better chance I'm going to do well as also. So it's a good industry to be a part of. Okay. Kansas company partners with ranchers bringing beef to the buyer. This is from Hutch News. Kansas direct-to-consumer agricultural company Agridime brings consumers from urban centers across the U.S. together with ranchers. Consumers can participate in ranching by buying ownership in the cattle that they will eventually consume, or simply purchasing a sirloin steak, brisket, or ground beef online or in a market. If the consumers want, they can drive to the ranch in central or western Kansas, Arizona, Missouri, and Oklahoma to meet their own cow or steer. And when it's time for processing, they can share in the profits. In addition, the company sells boxed and portioned meat that is shipped directly to a home or business. Beef can also be purchased in their warehouses in Harrington, Kansas, and Gilbert, Arizona. So it's agridimestore.com. And it says on that page, we were wondering, would you help us create jobs in rural America by purchasing your meat directly from the farm? So their quarter of a beef, which they includes a 7 cubic foot freezer, is $1,599.
Wait, it includes a freezer?
It's a shipping cooler.
But it's
$1,600 for a quarter of a beef. So
how much is that? What did you get?
Crable's is he just gave it to me. I want to say he said it was $5.49 a pound right now, but it also might have been less than that. So we better look that up.
How much is a quarter? We were just looking at numbers earlier on the average size. And I mean, so you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 8. You're talking like that's costing like $8 to $10 a pound. I'm saying it's a lot more than
Zach's a quarter of beef's going for $4.06 a pound. So my bad. Definitely not $5.49.
Okay.
So
still, that's you're paying like double though, at least.
However, you do get to name the beef or the cow or whatever. That adds some value.
I just find that creepy though.
Your dad sent me something about being able to name your own shark. Like you get to track and name a shark. My initial response was like, what if we did that and called one Walton's, and great white shark known by the name Walton's eats family of 4 on California beach. He's like, no, I thought you'd call it yourself. I'm like, well, that's even worse. I already think that as soon as I get in the water, some sort of signal is sent out saying he's here. If I had a shark that had my name, it'd be like, no, get out of my way. He's mine.
I've been waiting like the whole podcast for you to bring that up. My dad told me that he sent that to you, and I'm like, he's talking about this on the podcast.
How could I not? All right. Cultivated meat company New Age Meat makes painful decision to shut down. So here we go. A lot of these companies are never going to get off the ground or produce any retail piece of meat. But cultivated meat startup New Age Meats has made the painful decision to shut down after failing to secure funding to complete work on its pilot facility in Alameda, California, go through the regulatory process, and get its products in front of customers.
Why would you start without having like the funding figured out and a plan for everything? It seems stupid to me, but there's a lot out there. It's in my opinion, like almost a bubble in that industry where there's just so much money that's been thrown at it and thrown in it. And there's going to be a lot that fails. There's going to be some that hang around and stick around. I think there will always be a market for some of it.
Keep going. That's good.
I don't know CPR, by the way, so I will just sit here.
I got it. We just would have popped one of these. It would have just exploded. Yeah, no, that entire industry is never gonna make it.
It's disappointing though to see so they raised $25 million, took it up to $32 million. $32 million for food processing that's gone.
Yep.
What could you have done with that? Giving it to independent small meat processors out there. You could have started up a handful of plants in different states and had some really, really freaking nice facilities.
I wonder if they were through SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, that went.
Quite possibly.
Man, how much of all this is fraud? In my opinion, all of modern art is fraud. I wonder how much of this stuff is fraud. I mean, we already know that there's at least a decent amount of fraud in the food industry.
Yeah, Parmesan coming out of Italy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. That's the one that always pops into my mind. Meatball from long extinct mammoth created by food firms. So finally something that I care about from science. That's not true at all.
Who wants to eat rotting flesh thousands of years old?
Oh, I 100%. If they found one frozen in the ice, I would take a piece of it and eat it. Like an actual woolly mammoth, 100%.
What do you know?
What's going to happen? You're going to get sick.
What kind of prehistoric illness there is?
Probably going to get sick.
You have no immune system to.
Well, how do you build up an immune system?
Yeah, you're going to start the next pandemic is what you're going to do. It's going to be some deadly disease that then you pass on in Wichita, Kansas. It's ground zero because of John Stinkin' Tremblay.
I'll cook it to 165. We'll be good. But I 100% would eat that.
What if it's like botulism and you can't?
Cook it to 240.
You better put a lot of shirk in there too.
But the project aims to demonstrate the potential of meat grown from cells without the slaughter of animals, and to highlight the link between large-scale livestock production and the destruction of wildlife and the climate crisis. Read an article the other day that said there are 37%, so there's 63% of cows in the UK that there were in 1997. So their industry has been cut almost in half. Yet it's cows that are always blamed for climate change in the UK. Oh, no, that's not true.
Interesting.
I'm getting really frustrated every time I see well known that a switch to a vegetarian diet would greatly benefit the environment. I don't think that's true. I think you've what's it called? Gaslit people on this for so long that people just accept it. It's the same thing with Al Gore. We're not going to have any snow on the top of Mount Fuji in 5 years. Same thing, Greta Thunberg deleting her post about how the world's ending in 5 years. You can only be wrong so many times before. What I don't understand about it is if I was that wrong, I would be like, okay, I can't make predictions anymore. Right? Like I'd be like, I obviously don't know. Like I've told the story before, but when you offered me this job, I thought, sounds awesome. It's never going to be like what he's saying it's going to be.
Biggest mistake in my life.
But you were right. And then you told me, I remember this clearly as well. You said, there will come a day where you are not able to respond to every single comment and question on Meatgistics. And I thought, again, like, absolutely, that's ridiculous. Of course, I will be 100% right on that. So now when you like tell me something, I'm like, okay, this is probably what's going to happen. I recognize that my ability...
I have a lot of power here.
Well, to a certain degree. I recognize that my ability to look out for 3, 4, 5, whatever years in the future is not as good as yours. So I don't try to like say, no, I don't think that's what's going to happen. We're doing this. Like at some point, these climate activists have to be like, oh, we've been wrong for literally the last 60 years. Maybe we should shut up.
Yeah. On one hand, we ought to be good stewards of what God's given us
100%.
And the earth we have. But on the other hand, I think the earth is a lot more resilient than people give credit for. But at the same time, like what people think we do bad to hurt it, I think is twisted by people's opinions instead of facts. But there we do a lot to hurt the earth.
Sure.
But there's also
mostly China and India.
A lot of it that is just based on people's agenda and saying, like you were saying, like greenhouse gases because of cows. And that is it's not factually accurate. But it's a talking point people use because it goes and validates their opinion and the talking points and what they want to push.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Italy wages war on lab-grown meat in drive to protect tradition. So good guy, Italy. Italy's government on Tuesday approved a bill banning the use of laboratory-produced food and animal feed as it aims to safeguard the country's agri-food heritage. Its agriculture minister told a news conference after a cabinet meeting. Now, I've been saying for the last couple of years, if we continue going down this communist, socialist, whatever in the U.S., I'm going to move to El Salvador. But maybe like Italy's the spot.
I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to still find another place, even at times when you think things are crazy here, and you're like, someone else is doing something good here. Yeah, but look at all the rest of the stuff.
Can I bring my guns? Is the big question.
Look at the whole encompassing thing,
and can I have my guns?
You're not gonna like anywhere.
I like here 5 years ago. Why can't we have that?
Let's just let's start with Walton's headquarters and let's just declare ourselves an independent nation and see what happens. Start making our own
I'm the
rules.
Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
Everyone's required to wear or to carry a gun. Required, not optional. You will have a gun on you at all times.
This could be fun. This could be like
no, it's not fun. That's LARPing. This is serious.
It could be like the draft, where if we do a draft for meat processing equipment, like just like a fun exercise, this could be like a fun exercise. A little bit further out there.
I thought you meant draft like the Vietnam era draft.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Okay. I was drafting Colton and Will. They're like, you two are in the military.
I guess we could also do it that way.
Yeah,
I don't know. It'd be fun. Fun to mess with.
All right. I got nothing else. You got anything?
Nope. That's all I got.
Sweet. Thanks for watching. Join us today at 3 p.m. waltons.com/live. We are also doing free shipping for the whole month of April every Saturday. Use coupon code FREEAPRIL on orders of $100 or more, and Patrick is demanding that I take another hit. So we'll see you out with a good size hit. Be ready to lower my levels.
It's the funniest thing ever.
That one was so much worse.
Thanks for checking out the Meatgistics podcast. To shop everything but the meat, head on over to waltons.com. To get your meat processing questions answered by experts and enthusiasts alike, head on over to our online community at meatgistics.com. Waltons, everything but the meat.